back?
I think I saw her earlier, so.
She said she was trying to get back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Big
Well, I'm
crowd.
going to read the notice at this point. Hope she can get back in while we're doing it. Okay. First of all, welcome to the Lunenburg Zoning Board of Appeals. I first have to give you a notice that in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that the meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and the steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are currently closed to the public. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be broadcast live through the local access cable on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Lunenburg Public Access Cable 157427270975305, and will be able to be found on Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link below to join the public meeting webinar, which is https://us.zoom.us/j/87686595130, or from a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter webinar ID, meeting ID 876-8659-5130. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and an email address. No participant ID is needed. Just press the pound when asked. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. The Lunenburg Board will hear the petition of David Butler, 119 Central Street, Leominster, Mass. 1453. The property which is the subject of this case is located at 56 Pine Street, Lunenburg, Mass. 01462. Okay, with that, I need to take a roll call of all the members of the board and introduce the board. Lisa Normandy is the board secretary. Was she able to get back in?
I'm here.
Okay. James Bezikowski.
Here.
Hans Winthrop.
Here.
David Black.
Here.
Patrick Callahan.
Yes, sir.
And I'm Alfred Gravel. I'll explain the hearing procedure. Lisa will read the application and any other submitted communications. The applicant will have the opportunity for comments on the application or if he has any additional documents. If you would like to speak, please give your name and address. Board members will have the opportunity to ask questions that they might have on the application. In the public, there will be a public comment period. If anybody from the public would like to speak, raise your hand, give your name and address all comments and questions to the board. The board will then go into deliberations, and there are certain required findings for any special permit. And they are: 1, that it will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic flow, congestion, danger, or fire explosion are the reasons. That it will not have a material adverse effect on the value of land and buildings in the neighborhood. That it will be operated with reasonable regard for order and sightliness if in open use. and that it will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines in amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of adjacent property. And with that, I would ask Lisa to please read the petition and any other submitted comments.
Okay, this is an application for a special permit, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The name and address of the applicant is David Butler, 119 Central Street in Leominster, Mass. The undersigned hereby makes application as follows. He's seeking a special permit approval to demo existing dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling. The proposed action has not begun. The street address is 56 Pine Street, assesses map 63, parcel 16. The name and address of holder of legal title to the land, which is the subject of this case, is David Butler, 1024 Main Street in Leominster, Massachusetts, 01453. And the deed is recorded in Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds, Book 9331, page 298, and recorded May 29th, 2019. And it is signed on June 23rd by David Butler. And I'll read David Ross Associates' letter. Dear board members, the purpose of this letter is to detail to you the request for a special permit under section 257.4 of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw. This particular section deals with changes to lawful non-conforming existing structures. The subject property is located in the Residence A zoning district, which currently requires 40,000 square feet of land area, and frontage is of at least 100 feet. The lot in question has 15,086 square feet with 20 feet of frontage. This parcel was created in 1957 as described in the deed that references that said premises are shown on plan of land in Lunenburg, Mass, owned by Donald Adams et al., dated May 29, 1957. Alden S. Marble and Associates, registered engineers and surveyors, prior to the adoption of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw in August of 1960. The existing house has stood on the property prior to the adoption of the bylaw and is afforded the designation of a lawful, pre-existing, non-conforming structure as it pertains to section 257.4 of the bylaw. The accompanying plan number S14949, details the proposed reconstruction of the existing single-family dwelling at 56 Pine Street. The new reconstructed single-family dwelling will be built in approximately the same location as the existing dwelling and will conform to the front, side, and rear property line offset requirements, as well as the height limitations. This proposal does increase the size of the dwelling slightly, but will greatly improve and modernize the living standards commonly built today. According to section 257.4, a reconstruction of a single-family residential non-conforming structure may be allowed upon a determination that the reconstruction meets all current zoning requirements, is not more substantially detrimental to the neighborhood, and does not increase the non-conforming nature of the structure. The bylaw goes on to say that the proposed structure shall be deemed not to increase the non-conforming nature of said structure if the structure is located on a lawfully non-conforming lot and the alteration will not result in new or increased violation of any of the dimensional requirements of the bylaw. With this application, we contend that we have established compliance with these standards. In accordance with the applications for special permit, we would also like to address the 4 questions posed in item 12. We offer the following. A, the proposed construction and function of a new single-family dwelling will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health, nor will it be hazardous because of any traffic congestion, and will not pose a threat for fire or explosion. B, the proposed project will not have any material adverse effects on the land, on the value of land and buildings in the neighborhood, or on the amenities of the neighborhood. In fact, this upgrade from the existing conditions may have a net positive influence on the value of surrounding properties and amenities. C, this proposed single-family dwelling will be operated with reasonable regard for order and sightlines. D, the proposed construction nor the future use of the single-family dwelling will not produce noise, vibration, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines in amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of any of the adjacent properties. The applicant's efforts in this approval process have included receiving a construction permit to upgrade the sewage disposal system for 3 bedrooms from the Lunenburg Board of Health. In addition, the applicant is proposing to abandon the use of 2 existing private wells and connect to the town water supply available in Pine Street. We respectfully request that you evaluate this submittal for the benefit of the applicant and see fit to grant us a special permit for reconstruction as detailed. Very truly yours, David E. Ross Associates Incorporated by Neil T. Gorman, Project Manager. Attached is a copy of the quitclaim deed. In addition to the abutters list, which were all notified 2 weeks prior to this hearing. There is also the proposed house plans. And there is a lot plan attached as well. I will read the letter from the building commissioner dated July 6th to Alfred Gravel, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, from Casey Burlingame, the building commissioner and zoning officer, regarding 56 Pine Street. I reviewed the application, have the following comments. The property in question is parcel ID 6316 and is located at 56 Pine Street. It is currently being used as a single-family home and is in the Residence A zoning district. The proposed work is the demolition of a non-conforming building as defined in the definitions of the zoning bylaw under non-conforming and reconstruction of a new single-family home of slightly larger dimensions on a pre-existing lot that does not conform to all current zoning bylaw requirements, specifically lot size, frontage, lot width through building. With this information, the applicant would need a special permit to reconstruct from the Zoning Board of Appeals under Section 257.4A, allowing the reconstruction of a lawfully non-conforming building or structure. This application also went to all the other town departments. The only ones that commented with anything really of any value, if they just signed off, they considered it okay. The conservation said there will be no conservation action required. And the Board of Health sent me a lengthy memo last night from James Gariffi. The Board of Health has received plans for the installation of new septic system to serve the new house for this site. The septic system plans are acceptable and the site has town water available. The Board of Health will require the decommissioning of the on-site wells as part of the issuance of a certificate of compliance for the septic system. The Board of Health would require the following conditions for the demolition of the existing home. Submit documentation that there is no asbestos in the building or that it has been properly removed and disposed of. Submit documentation that there are no underground fuel storage tanks. Submit documentation that the existing on-site sewage disposal system has been abandoned in accordance with Title V of the State Environmental Code. Board of Health approval required. And if the site is served by an on-site well, which will be discontinued as part of the demolition and rehabilitation of the site, the well must be abandoned, and the Board of Health approval is required. A plan for dust mitigation must accompany the submission. During the demolition, dust control must prevent dust mitigation to abutting property, and pest control management plan. And that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Okay, and with that, I ask the applicant if he would like to speak to the petition.
Good evening. I'm Neil Gorman from David E. Ross Associates, representing the applicant David Butler, who is online listening. And again, David E. Ross Associates, we're based in Harvard, Massachusetts, and we've been before the town on numerous projects over the years. So I do have a colored up site plan. If you'd be willing to share, allow me to share my screen, that's up to you.
Please do. Yes, you can share the screen.
Okay. I'm just waiting for permission.
Al, you might have to give him the ball or give permission to share.
What's that?
You might have to give permission to share. Hold on. Share screen. Okay, here, sorry. All right, that should work. Can you try
There we
now?
Yep. Okay. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Just move my pictures here. So the plan is oriented with north being to the right side. So Pine Street's on the right side of the plan. The frontage is only 20 feet, extends back 142 feet, where then it widens out to be 100 feet wide. And the property continues further back and kind of has like an axe head diagonal in the rear property line. The lot is about 15,000 square feet. You can see a chart in the upper right corner of the plan. It's just over 15,000 square feet. The lot width through the building is 100 feet. So the existing dwelling is the lighter black line here with the diagonal hatching. And the proposed dwelling is the shaded in brown, more bold structure with the diagonal hatching. And to the left of the existing building, or to the south of to the south of the proposed building, is a proposed deck. The other structure on the property right now that's to be removed is an existing shed located here in at the southwesterly corner of the proposed building. The layout of the septic system is highlighted in yellow. The ST is the septic tank. The small square is the distribution box. And the long lines there are the pipe and stone leaching trenches. We've also proven in these dashed lines here, just below the primary system, is the future expansion system, which is required by Title V to prove we have adequate space to be preserved for a future system if needed. Currently, there is a well in the northern portion of the property here up by Pine Street. There's a second well more or less in the middle of the property. And as mentioned in Jim Gariffi's comments, our septic plan that we have submitted and received a permit for construction is going to decommission both of those wells in accordance with the Board of Health requirements. And they're going to tie into town water, which is here coming out to Pine Street. So again, the house is generally in the same location. The larger footprint is because this main part of the building is the dwelling, which is a 28 by 36 structure, and the connected 24 by 24 two-car garage without any living space above it. So the dwelling is proposed to be 2 stories, as you can see in the house plans, with a full basement. The material out here is beautiful standing gravel. We have no groundwater in sight, so it's an ideal site for this type of construction. Much of the area where this proposed dwelling is located is already cleared. There may be a few pine trees needed to be removed, but as mentioned by the conservation, we are not within any areas under their jurisdiction for environmental or the Wetlands Protection Act. So we have we have the ability to make those things happen fairly easily on the site. And just to point out some of the structural relationships to property lines, as you can see, this 17.4 on the westerly side of the house is pointing from the existing structure at its nearest point to a side property line. 15 feet is the minimum in this district. The proposed dwelling is going to be offset 19 feet, so we're actually improving that offset from 17.4 to 19. And then on the rear property line, the offset minimum is 20 feet, and we'll be at 21 feet for the proposed deck. The existing structure was well away from the rear property line. It was at 56.4 feet. So as mentioned in the letter that Lisa had read, we understand we're on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, and given that the structure has been there since, and the lot has existed since prior to 1960, we feel we're afforded the ability to rebuild on the property. And in essence, we are rebuilding, meeting all the offsets. We're not meeting the area requirement, the frontage requirement, or the lot width requirement, but we can't change any of those things given this particular lot. And, so I guess with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick question. When you were first talking, you were saying it was slightly larger, but that's, looking at the drawing you supplied, it looks like it's about twice as large. But you're saying
Yeah, when you,
it's the garage part's unoccupied.
right. Right, yeah, so yeah, the overall footprint of the property, it's about 85% bigger in footprint, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, with that, I'll just turn it over to the board for any questions that they may have. Does anybody have any questions on the proposal?
I have one question, Mr. Chair. I heard a mention of it, and I was kind of peeking through. What was the actual height of the building, or of the new structure?
New structure, let me look at the house plans here. Now, I guess the house plans don't reference a height, but it's, looks like it's a standard two-story colonial-looking home. So it will be under the,
It'll be under the height restriction.
correct. It will have to be in order to get a building permit, but yeah, they didn't reference that on the building plans, but as you can see, it's a pretty much a colonial house with a, standard pitched roof, nothing major sticking out the top or anything. And the foundation will be able to set in the ground pretty easily without any groundwater issues. So I don't see it being above the maximum allowed.
Is the existing house, is that currently occupied?
I'd have to ask Mr. Butler that. He is in attendance. He just texted me. We're coordinating. He doesn't have the ability. He doesn't have a microphone on his computer. So he just did text me. He said, no, it's not occupied at the moment. No, but it's been in the family since I think his grandfather built it back in the late 50s.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
So, Mr. Chair, go ahead, Hans.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to go back to the applicant, and I think it follows on what you had said. The square footage of the house, the existing house, do we know what the square footage of that footprint is and the square footage of just the house and not the garage? I mean, it looks pretty much similar. You're just moving it, correct?
The existing, Mr. Chairman, sorry, Neil from Ross Associates. I do have some of the numbers. The existing house has a footprint of 857. And the proposed house has a footprint of 1,008 square feet, with then the 576 square feet for the attached garage.
Yeah.
So if you take, and then it's a two-story house, so the living space would be the 1,008 times 2, which is 2016.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any other member?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Mr. Dave. My question was more on, once again, we didn't receive the assessor's card, but it's looking like we're moving from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom septic. Is the septic system itself being, I know the Board of Health said it was okay, but what is the deal with the septic system? Are we decommissioning something? Are we just expanding what we had, or what are we doing there?
I can answer that, Mr. Chairman. Neil from Ross Associates. Yes, we understand it was a 2-bedroom dwelling. We are increasing to a 3-bedroom dwelling. And that is why we're showing a proposed primary leaching system, the 2 leaching trenches there in yellow, and 2 future expansion leaching trenches on the same property, meeting all the requirements of the Lunenburg Board of Health regulations as well as Title V. So we have proven and we've obtained a construction permit to build a new leaching system for a new 3-bedroom dwelling in compliance with Title V and the Board of Health regulations. The existing leach pit, whatever it may be out there, that will be abandoned and properly taken care of as well during the Board of Health certificate of compliance process and inspections when the new system is built.
Okay, and the other question was regarding the driveway. You have a proposed increase in the size there of the, basically in a proposing, is the driveway going to continue to be a gravel driveway, or are you looking to have it asphalt? So I'm worried about, my concern is water runoff to the neighbors because you're creating impervious surfaces.
Again, I'll ask my applicant to text me an answer to that. It is an existing gravel driveway. The soil testing that we performed on the site for the sewage disposal system design, we have beautiful sand and gravels. The water, we couldn't hold water in the hole. And it is a fairly flat site. We're not showing the topography here, but it is very flat. And so I don't see any impact of the runoff. Again, I'm waiting for Dave to tell me if he's looking to pave or keep it as gravel. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think if I looked at that from Pine Street, don't the neighbors' yards, aren't they slightly higher than the current drive?
I believe the Petersons are a little bit higher up, yes.
One is higher, one is considerably lower. You can almost see the rooftops as you're driving in by the campsite that's presently there by the house.
I mean, and David Butler replied to me, he said in the future he would like to pave it. It may not be in the budget right at this point, but he'd like the ability to pave it if possible.
Was sewerage an option? I know it runs along Route 2A, right by the end of Pine Street down there. But does the option for you to run up Pine Street to connect, is that available?
I do not believe so. I think that would have come up with Jim Gariffi, because if it was available, we'd have to tie in. But the Board of Health issued a permit for us to build a new system. And I know in our company, we've built a couple of systems or designed a couple of the systems right on Pine Street. So in the past, so
Thank
I
you.
don't believe we're able to tie in.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have one last question, Mr. Chairman. So it sounds like from the applicant, if it's correct, it's been in his family for since way back when, and then he intends to live in it, build it, demolish it, and build it and live in it?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. No more questions? With no more questions, Dave, do we have anybody that's in from the public? Can you hear me?
Sorry, we do have folks from the public. Nobody, I don't see a hand raised that anybody's looking to ask questions or anything like that. So.
Excuse me, I have a question. My name is Eric Sove. I'm one of the abutting neighbors. My concern is with the water runoff that was mentioned earlier. I understand the driveway. I'm not too concerned about that runoff. But what was the land grading where the septic tank is and the leaching field? Is that graded towards our property line, or is it graded towards the woods in the back of the property? So if there is an issue with the septic tank or the leach field, where does that runoff go? Does it come into our property, or does it go back towards the wood line?
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Okay, Neil Gorman from Ross Associates. As I mentioned, the rating of the soils out there is the best you can get, which is greater than a 2 minute per inch percolation rate. Again, we poured water in the hole and barely could keep it in there. It's beautiful sand and gravel with no groundwater issues whatsoever. And the grades are going to remain the same as they are now. This does not have to be a raised leaching system like you see in other parts of town, simply because we have a deep enough water table to build it right in the ground. So we are not anticipating on changing any grades that would shed the water any differently than it is now.
Okay. I was just looking at, because our property is significantly lower than that property. So I'm just concerned about, the old saying, it flows downhill, right?
Understood. But again, the soils are so receptive to water out here. And what
Right.
we're building for a septic system is also going to be designed to receive water. So again, I don't anticipate any runoff issues. The applicant had texted me and said he's not aware of any current runoff issues. So again, we have the ideal soil conditions out there, and it's a fairly flat site, and the septic system grades are going to be the same as they are now when we're done. We're not going to be raising it up and creating slopes to or toward any property lines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask Mr. Solovey his address?
Mr. Sullivan, could you give your address, please?
It's 62 Pine Street.
Thank you, just for the record.
Okay, thank you.
He is the abutter to the direct abutter to the east.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume it did. Okay, if there's no more question from the public, David?
I do not see any, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And with that, then I'll cut off public discussion and I'll bring it back to the board. Is there any discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant the special permit. I think it would be a fantastic improvement for the neighborhood. I think they'd relish something other than the basic campsite that I saw there today. So I'll make a motion that we approve as requested for a special permit.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So I will call for a roll call.
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So it is approved. I do have a decision instructions that I have to read. The special permit is granted with the contingency that the petitioner comply with all licenses, regulations, statutes, ordinance of any and all applicable local, state, and federal boards or agencies with jurisdictions over the premises. The special permit is subject to periodic review by the permit granting authority or the enforcement officer to ensure compliance with any conditions. Non-compliance to such conditions may result in revocation of this permit. A copy of the board's decision shall be filed with the town clerk within 14 days. Any party aggrieved by the board's decision may appeal to Superior Court within 20 days after the decision is filed with the town clerk. After certification by the town clerk that 20 days have elapsed since the decision was filed, you should have it recorded in the Registry of Deeds. No special permit shall take effect until it has been recorded. The special permit shall lapse within 2 years unless substantial use or construction has commenced. And again, I'll just remind you that some of the special conditions, of course, are going to be all of the conditions that the Board of Health has already listed on their form, as well as you've got to comply with all other boards. And with that, I wish you good luck with your new construction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the board. And that's from me personally. And Mr. Butler just texted me and he wanted to thank you all very much for your time and consideration of this project. And of course, your approval. So thank you. And we wish you well tonight.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, Neil.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, we have a second hearing tonight. Was slated for 7:30. It's 7:38. And I've already read the COVID notice, but I will give you that again, that this hearing is being recorded, in accordance with the open meeting law, and you'll please be advised that the meeting is recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access. With that, we have a second hearing. And I would like to, again, introduce the board. We'll take a roll call again for the second hearing. Lisa Normandin,
Here.
James Bezikowski,
Here.
Hans Winthrop,
Here.
David Blatt,
Here.
Patrick Callahan.
I'm here.
I'm Alfred Gravel. I'll explain how this hearing will proceed. Again, Lisa will read the application and any other submitted communications. The applicant will have the opportunity for comments on the application or submission of additional documents. If you would like to speak, please give your name and address. Board members will have the opportunity to ask questions they might have on the application. There will be a public comment period. If anybody from the public would like to speak, raise your hand and give your name and address. Please address all comments and questions to the board. The board will go into deliberations. There are required findings for a special permit, and that they will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic flow, congestion, danger, fire, or explosion are the reasons. That it will not have a material adverse effect on the value of land and buildings in the neighborhood. That it will be operated with reasonable regard for order and sightliness if in open use. That it will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines and amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of adjacent property. With that, I would ask Lisa to please read the petition.
This is an application for a special permit, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The name and address of the applicant is Christopher Doby, 27 The Clearing in Lunenburg, Mass. The undersigned makes application as follows. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to transfer/convey a 1,654 square foot parcel of land with an existing garage to a neighboring property located at 43 The Clearing. This action requires a finding that such extension, alteration, or change will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood. Proposed action has not begun. The basis for this application is found in the following section of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw, 250, section 8.2D. The street address is 27 The Clearing, assesses map 113, parcel 42. The name and address of each holder of legal title to the land, which is the subject of this case, is Christopher Doby, 27 The Clearing, Lunenburg, Massachusetts. And the deed is recorded in Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds, Book 8139, page 190, recorded June 13th of 2014. They have answered the special permit questions as follows. Will the proposed action be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic congestion, danger of fire or explosion or other reasons? The reply was no. Will this action have a material adverse effect on the value of land and buildings in the neighborhood or on the amenities of the neighborhood? The reply is no. Will the proposed action be operated with reasonable regard for order and sightliness if in open use? The reply was yes. D, will the proposed action produce noise, vibration, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines and amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of adjacent property? And the reply is again no. And that is signed June 25th of 2020 by Christopher Doby of 27 The Clearing. There is a letter attached to whom it may concern. My name is Chris Doby. I've lived next to Michael and Janine Cooper since 2014. The reasons that I would like to sell this part of my property is for several reasons. First, when we purchased our home on June 13th, 2014, our neighbor, Michael Cooper, had an arrangement with previous owners for using this space, garage and parking. We have no interest in this parcel because of the distance from our house and continued this agreement. Mike Cooper and his wife have maintained this property since we moved in and since we moved in. Since we have no use for this particular property, we decided to continue the agreement with Mike Cooper. The garage is in need of much needed work and repairs that we are not willing to move forward with. As previously stated, the Coopers maintain this area as if it was their own property. Also, it would make our property more equal to ours, making it less conforming. It would decrease my property by only 1,654 square feet and frontage by 33.61 linear feet. The plans they have for the space will enhance our neighborhood and make all our properties more conforming. Regards, Chris and Sarah Doby. The next letter, to whom it may concern, my wife Janine Cooper and I have maintained the property at 27 The Clearing for the past 8 years. We've been keeping this garage from falling apart. The garage is in need of updating. That is something we are willing and want to do. The past and current owners do not want to take on this update due to how far away it is from their house. The Doby's property is larger than ours at 43 The Clearing. Adopting this property would make our property look more equal in our neighborhood. We think this would help our neighborhood look more uniform. Our family is older and everyone has their own vehicles plus company vehicles. Having said that, the additional parking spots would be beneficial. Lastly, overall, the property would look so much better after the repairs as well as the new landscaping and driveway that would be installed. And that's signed sincerely, Michael and Janine Cooper. I have a letter to the board from the building commissioner. I've reviewed the application and have the following comments. Property in question is parcel ID 113-42 and is located at 27 The Clearing. It is currently being used as a single-family home and is in the Residence A zoning district. The proposed work is the transfer of a 1,654 square feet parcel of land with a garage situated on it to be sold to the neighboring property. That property is identified as parcel 113-43 and is located at 43 The Clearing. Under section 257.3A, a lawfully non-conforming use of a building, structure, or land shall not be altered, extended, changed, or substantially extended except to a conforming use, unless authorized by the Board of Appeals pursuant to subsection B. Subsection B states, no non-conforming use shall be extended, altered, or changed unless approved via a special permit issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals upon its finding that such extension, alteration, or change will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use to the neighborhood. In addition, there is a list of abutters with a site plan showing the properties and the neighboring properties. And there is also a plan of land done by, that was submitted to the Lunenburg Planning Board with this land conveyance plan. I have also received a memo from the Board of Health that there are no wetland issues associated with this proposal. And the Sewer Commission made a comment that it's not yet, 27 The Clearing is not yet connected to sewer, but has access to public sewer. Owners should ensure that the transfer of land will not interfere with a future connection should one be required. And that was their only comment. Any other boards just simply signed off on the permit. I have 2 letters of support that were received, one dated July 11th to the ZBA of Lunenburg, in response to the petition of Christopher Doby and his conveyance of a small parcel of land located at 27 The Clearing, Lunenburg, to the Coopers of 43 The Clearing, Lunenburg, I, Timothy O'Brien of 46 The Clearing, have no issues or concerns with this transaction and see no negative effects on the neighborhood if this is approved. Sincerely, Tim O'Brien, and should my presence be needed, I would gladly attend, and he left a phone number. The next letter of support was received July 6th, to whom it may concern. I am writing in support of the Cooper family's acquisition of the garage and related property across the street from my home on The Clearing in Lunenburg. There will be no change in the use of this building. I foresee no negative impact on traffic, noise, parking, or other quality of life issues in the neighborhood. While the condition of the building is fine as is, Mr. Cooper has said he will fix it up just as he has improved his house and property. This would be a benefit to the neighborhood. With no negative impact and possible benefit to the character of the neighborhood, I fully support the zoning variance the Cooper family seeks related to this transaction. And that's John O'Donnell of 38 The Clearing. And that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Okay, and with that, I would invite the applicant, if he would like to speak to the petition. Is the applicant, there he is.
My name's Christopher Dovey, and I'm fine with selling the piece of land to my neighbor, Michael Cooper. I have no issues with that and would like to move forward with the sale.
Okay. Looking at it, I went there as well. You mentioned that the garage is quite a ways from your house at this point.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you know the distance, or is it on your plan?
According to the plan, I guess.
Excuse me.
If I'm reading it right. Sorry, go ahead.
I would like to introduce myself. My name is David Leroy, and I'm with Hannigan Engineering in Leominster, Massachusetts. And I prepared the plan. And the answer to your question, Mr. Chairman, is the garage is roughly 130 feet from the closest point of the house.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you. With that, I will open it up to the rest of the board on any questions that they may have.
There's a shed next to the garage. Does that go with the sale of the property?
No, and the shed, there's still a solid distance between the shed and the garage.
Thank
Any other questions from the board?
So, Mr. Chair, there was mentioned in the brief that they planned on doing a driveway on there. Where is that driveway going to be, and is it just a single driveway? You know, is this going to stay as a single car garage with a single car driveway heading towards it?
Hello, my name is Michael Cooper, 43 The Clearing. There is presently a driveway in front of the garage that will just be repaved. It's just 45, 50 years old. And that is all, no changes, just redone.
Any other questions from the board? Well, I'm waiting for an answer. On the distances, you said it's approximately 130 feet to the garage. And the frontage now, the 123, is that the distance for that would be if you sold off that piece of property? Would your frontage now be
Yeah, that would be the remaining. This is David Leroy again. That would be the remaining frontage, 123.71 feet, with the required frontage in Residence A being 100 feet.
Correct, yeah, that's why I was asking, because if it was minus the 33.61, you'd only have 90 feet of frontage, which would be a change to the non-conforming. But you're saying that's not,
No, the remaining frontage would be 123.71 feet.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have any other questions from the board?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say, when I drove by, it looks like the Coopers take really nice care of their place. I saw their other garage. It looked very nice and organized. I can't say the same for myself, but I assume they're going to keep that same kind of nice look to this old garage coming to the new garage. So I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? I will
Just as,
comment. Oh, go ahead, James.
just as a point of information, I know there's a nice fence in between the garage and the Cooper's house. Will they just be moving that over to the other side?
Hi, this is Michael Cooper again. Yes, the fence will go on to the new property line to separate Chris Dobie's property from ours.
Thank you.
Okay. I will make a comment that I grew up in Whalen myself. I grew up on Natick Street. But I will say that these two lots are two of the largest lots on that street. So that's a good thing. I noticed some of the homes up towards the other end, towards Whalen Road, are much smaller lots than what both of you currently have. And so I would say that the sale of the land would certainly not be considered substantial. But with that, any other questions from the board?
Not from me.
Okay, David, if there's no other questions from the board, do you see anybody from the public that would like to speak?
I do not see anybody from the public with their hand raised, so we'll assume they're all set.
Okay. Somebody know?
I just saw the phone. No, we're okay. It looks like we're all set right now.
Okay, all right. Then with that, I will ask the board if somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of land and the transfer of land from the Dobies to the Coopers.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. With that, I will call for a roll call. Let's see, we'll just, Dave?
Aye.
Okay, Patrick?
Aye.
Jim already answered, I think. Who am I missing?
Hans.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Hans.
Aye.
And I will say aye. So with that, it is approved. I do have a post-decision instructions that I will read to you. The special permit is granted with the contingency that the petitioner comply with all licenses, regulations, statutes, ordinances of any and all applicable local, state, and federal boards or agencies with jurisdiction over the premises. The special permit is subject to periodic review by the permit granting authority or the enforcement officer to ensure compliance with any conditions. Non-compliance to such conditions may result in a revocation of the permit. A copy of the board's decision shall be filed with the town clerk within 14 days. Any party aggrieved by the board's decision may appeal to Superior Court within 20 days after the decision is filed with the town clerk. After certification by the town clerk that 20 days have elapsed since the decision was filed, and should have it recorded in the registry of deeds. No special permit shall take effect until it has been recorded. And the special permit shall lapse within 2 years unless substantial use or construction is commenced. And with that, good luck with your sale of your property and your new
Very much.
garage.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, this is David Leroy. I just want to say thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Okay, is there any other business before the board?
If not, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I knew you.
Third.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Good night,
Thank you.
Grace.
Good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Bye.
And
Okay.
just FYI, we don't have anything on the docket.
Okay,
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good night.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the summer.
Thanks.